Toxic recovery. Trauma recovery. Toxic recovery. Trauma recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery. Trauma recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery. Trauma recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery. Trauma recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery. Trauma recovery. Toxic recovery. Trauma recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery. Trauma recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery, yeah. Trauma recovery, yeah. Toxic recovery, yeah. Trauma recovery, yeah. Toxic recovery, yeah. Yeah. I'm sick of abusive, narcissistic relationships. Sick of emotional trips. Sick of the lies that roll off your lips. Play me like some type of script. Gaslight me to keep me in grips. Time to cut ties and quit with the snip. Ready to get on the path of toxic recovery. Trauma recovery, yeah. Toxic recovery, yeah. Trauma recovery, yeah. Toxic recovery, yeah. You said it was love and all of your above, but you wanna suffer, yeah. Trauma recovery, yeah. Toxic recovery, yeah. Trauma recovery, yeah. Trauma recovery, yeah. Trauma recovery, yeah. Trauma recovery, yeah. You said it was love and all of your above, but you wanna suffer. Trauma recovery, yeah. Trauma recovery. Toxic recovery. Trauma recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery. Toxic recovery. Yeah.
Disclaimer: I often refer to toxic narcissists and abusers as delusional, crazy, or mentally unstable. A, because it's true. B, because when we're in these situations, we give their behavior far too much respect, which keeps us stuck in the cycle for longer. It is my hope that my mocking of their behavior encourages you to take that respect away and see we at least deserve a couple of laughs for the pain and suffering we've endured. Now, if you've been diagnosed with a general mental health condition, please note that I am not mocking nor talking about you. That being said, let's get into it. Hello. Okay, this is going to be a hot one already. I can just tell. This is going to be a hot one. JJ in the comments says, looking forward to this discussion. I personally believe this is just a case of deadly white woman tears. Again, I don't know, tears it again. She's been outed by journalists and former castmates for being a demon. Interesting. This is going to be a great one. We've already got somebody saying she's team Baldoni in the comments. So yeah, let me know your views in the comment section, where you sat at the moment in regards to this Blake and Baldoni situation as we go through. We're going to be discussing, because I was going to talk about it talk about the whole thing today, and then I realized there was too much and there's no way I was going to be able to do the entire complaint justice by talking about it in one live. It wasn't going to happen. We'd either be here all month or I need to cut it into sections. So this is section 1, where we're just going to talk about the sexual harassment. We're going to call it SH from now on, factor of the complaint and the public / PR reaction, because we don't know whether it's a public reaction or a PR reaction at this point. Let's face it, okay? But we're going to talk about this aspect of it first, and then we're going to be talking about the aspect of the smear campaign in part 2, which will be on Friday. But I need you to stick around and look at this bit as well. I'm telling you, it's valid. We get into it. And no, I'm not just going to read what the document said word for word. I think you know what I'm like here. If you've watched me long enough, I also read around and between the lines. We're not just looking at the lines, okay? So we're going to be talking about the SH factor of this complaint first, okay? And seeing whether it holds any weight, really, based on what she says happened, based on what it implicates, and all the rest of that. JJ also says she openly loves the aesthetics of white women in the antebellum era. For those of you who don't know, that's referring to the post-war era where slavery and all of that was a big thing. She got married on a plantation. Yeah, I heard about that one. I have no trust in this girl's ability to be honest when POC are involved. Okay. Now, okay, so she loves things from the antebellum era, and she got married on a plantation. Let's just go full out and just assume she's a full out racist. Let's just put it out there. Let's say she is a full-on racist. Does that mean that she wasn't SH'd? Do you get where I'm coming from with that? Because I hear what you're saying, and those might not be great qualities, but I need to know how that tells you that she wasn't SH'd in that environment. Please, guys, if you have any points in regards to that, tell me in the comments. But this is the way that I look at things. It's like, okay, she's not a nice person. Do you have to be a nice person to be believed of SH? Are your allegations and whether you are believed, should they be dependent on how popular you are or what a good person you've been in your life? Because that's the thing. See, I'm going to say not all the time, but in some cases, the narcissist, the abuser will target people who are less favored in society for this very reason, because they are less likely to be believed. When they're younger, they'll target the troublemaker. They'll target somebody who doesn't have a great reputation, isn't great with people, so that when they do something like that, they're not believed. So from that perspective, because she was married on a plantation, yada, 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 I want us here as a collective of women to not allow other things, whether they be awful, whatever they are, to influence us in regards to whether we believe something that isn't even relevant to what they're saying about her. Her being a racist isn't relevant to this complaint. You hear what I'm saying? Like, I'm not justifying racism. Let's just be clear. Okay, you see the color of my skin. We're not justifying racism over here. But what I am saying is it's not relevant to what we're talking about. Her being married on a plantation, okay, that's bad, not great. Not great taste, even if she's a full-on racist, like I said. That doesn't give me much. Okay, so you said also that she's been was it called out for not being a nice person by a journalist. Okay, we're going to get into that on Friday, but I will touch on it now. A journalist from what camp? Is this a real neutral journalist, or is this a journalist paid by Baldoni? Is this, what was this, where is this information coming from? Or a former castmate? Okay, so one person called her a demon based on what? So we're going to go into, on Friday, we're going to go into the my bump thing and all the PR thing around it, because I have got a lot to say about the way that was represented and the truth of that matter. Okay, but anyway, back to this. I got a lot to say. I'm excited for Friday, but back to this today. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up. And subscribe if you like this content, and hit that bell so you get a notification every time I go live, which is usually on Friday, but I had to postpone the last Friday because technical issues. Long story. Anyway, back to the point. Let's get back into this. Okay, so there are a few red flags from this complaint. Obviously here we go from we are going on the premise of believe in women first until there is evidence to undo that. Okay. Hard evidence. I'm not talking about, being married on a plantation. I'm talking about real stuff connected to the SH allegation that tears the theory to pieces. And then I'll be like, okay, yeah, no, maybe this one. But even in that, it's like, okay, what would be her point of okay, we'll get into it. Let me slow down. All right. So first red flag, a major one for me. Remember, I'm always saying, when there is abuse in a situation, there is always a power imbalance. For abuse to occur, there has to be a power imbalance. If you want to work out who is abusing who, you look for the power imbalance. And the one with the imbalance in their favor is the one who is doing the abusing. 100 times out of 100. Okay? That is the situation, because you cannot abuse without the imbalance of power. Okay, so my first thought was, because, social media and everybody on the Baldoni camp was saying, oh, the SH thing's not real. It's a ploy to correct her reputation. She's using her power to destroy a powerless man within the industry. And my first thought when they said this was, okay, but this powerless man within the industry hired the crisis manager, Johnny Depp's crisis manager. Who just walks off the street and hires the most popular actor in the world, one of the most popular actors in the world, crisis managers? That was my first thought. Because you're telling me that this is a powerless man, he's just, out in the wilderness doing his own thing, and she's just crushing this person. And I'm just like, but then he hires one of the most. What? It's not connecting, right? So I did a little bit of digging. We're going to go into more about Melissa Nathan on Friday, but I did a bit of digging, right? And it turns out that Baldoni is the co-owner of Wayfair Studios, which is the film company that made the movie It Ends With Us. So he's the co-founder of the company with Mr. Saritz. I can't even say his name. Saritz, whatever. Right? You get my point. Mr. S, we're going to call him. And Mr. Heath serves as the executive producer. Executive Office, Chief Executive Officer. You can see it here. You can read it with me. For those of you who need the complaint, I'm going to put a link. I already put a link in the community chat, but I'm going to put a link under this video so you can watch, you can read the whole complaint for yourself in black and white. Mr. S is the leading financier of Wayfair. Now, let's look at this. Just bear with me a moment whilst I point this out. Mr. S is the co-founder of it with Baldoni. So we have Baldoni and we have Mr. S. Now, Mr. S is actually a billionaire. So bear that in mind. And they're also very good friends. So Mr. Heath, Mr. Baldoni, and Mr. Billionaire are all very good friends. So we've got, from Baldoni's point of view, we've got power in monetary value, because I think the billionaire covers both Blake's and Ryan's income, net worth put together. Okay, so there's that. But then if we take that away and we just take the money factor away, Baldoni is the owner of the company. He is the producer of the movie. He is the director of the movie, and he is the co-star in the movie alongside Blake. I think that's a power imbalance. If you take that into a standard workplace scenario, that's a very clear power imbalance right there. Guys, you tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me where the balance sways in Blake's favor where this is concerned. And that's basically what it says here about him being in all of these positions, all of them. So he has direct access. Not only does he have control over the way things operate within the space in which she's operating in, he also has direct access to her because he's the co-star of that situation. There's a lot of power there. That's a lot of power there. So this powerless man is not powerless at all. This is a major red flag for me. She's not, if you flip it around, how is she going to abuse the power from this imbalanced perspective? She literally can't do it. What is she going to, as a co-star? And yeah, okay, she was also the co-producer, right? She was a producer as well. But we're going to find out that that is actually only in name in regards to this case. Literally only a name. And and they don't just do this to Blake, they do it to another woman too. So it's going to become very clear to you here that while she was a producer, and a lot of people were saying, well, she's a producer, she could have put this into effect and that into effect. Okay, you could say that, but when you're putting things into effect to the person who owns the company, who is also SHing you, what do you think the results are going to be? I'm just, comments, please. What do you think the results are going to be? So this for me is a major red flag. Guys, if you like what I'm saying here, please give it a thumbs up. Let YouTube know you like it. And hit that bell, subscribe and hit that bell so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. Let's go into the next red flag. Right, she's a difficult person. Let's play this one out. She, according to the document, right? According to the document, she was just this difficult person. Well, not according to the document, but according to the Baldoni team, she's just this difficult person who, you know, she just made these complaints and they just put up with it. Okay, so you got all the power. She's a cog in the wheel, and you're just putting up with her complaints. How likely is that? A. Now let's go to B. A month and a half. Bear in mind that all of the stuff that she's complaining about in this complaint happened within a month and a half of filming. A month and a half of filming went by, whereby they were doing all of these things and she was complaining and she was putting things to them that they were ignoring. And but they just weren't taking any action on. She was saying, please, could you stop doing this? Please, could you? And they were just basically just ignoring her and just brushing her aside, right? So they stopped filming due to a strike. So before they got back to re-filming, Blake then made it legal. She then made it legal. And she said, before we come back to this filming situation, I'm going to need you to do a couple things to make sure that the stuff that has been happening in the month and a half of filming is never going to happen again, or else you can just forget this whole thing, right? And you might argue, well, she's just throwing her weight around. She's abusing her authority, which she literally doesn't have, if you listen to what I've said here. But yeah, okay, she's abusing her authority and all of that. Okay, she's a difficult person. Okay, you're a month and a half into filming. Why don't you just sack her? I don't understand why I don't understand why this went on. This woman is, we're going through it. Let's just walk through it. This woman is an absolute nightmare. Absolute nightmare to work with. She's got a complaint for every single thing, right? You can't work with her at all. Making unnecessary complaints, making everything just twice as difficult. And then a month and a half into filming, she says, these things need to be in place or else we're not going to film anymore. And you go, okay, yeah, we're just going to roll over and do what you say. Why would you do that? This woman's been an annoyance to you. I mean, I'm trying to think of she isn't a less celebrity, I guess, but, I mean, like a well-respected somebody who, you're going to be like, oh no, we really need this person on this thing. Like, she could have been replaced. She could have been replaced. She's not an irreplaceable actor, not being funny, but Blake Lively, that's the way that I see it. Maybe you guys are great fans of Blake Lively, but I'm not. So I just see it as, why didn't you just sack her? Replace her, have someone else do it. At the end of the day, she's a nightmare. She's making all of these false complaints, taking up all your time with nonsense. And now she's saying that she's not going to work unless you do these things. Absolutely not. That you didn't, unless you make changes to things that you didn't actually even do. Who's going to put up with that? No one's going to put up with that. So I'm thinking to myself at this point, this is red flag number 2, because if she is difficult, her saying that she's not coming back unless she changes these things should have been like, amazing, bye, please go. Right? And you might be thinking, well, they did a month and a half of filming, so that's going to be, that's not cost effective. His owner of the company said he was willing to pay, and it's in the complaint, $100 million to destroy Blake Lively. So I don't think that this guy would have been, stretched in any way to fork out the expense of getting somebody else on set. If she was this difficult person that they just couldn't work with, that they just hated so much because they just couldn't work with her, you'd think that he would just be like, yeah, great, bye. Let's get someone else. My God, give us a break, right? So either way, it's not given what they think it's given with what they're saying here. So the next one, red flag number 3. Guys, let me know your thoughts in the comments about what I'm saying here. Guys, if you agree or disagree, I don't mind if you disagree, but you got to tell me why. And it's got to be relevant to what we're saying. Okay? Tell me why. I don't mind the pushback. Tell me why you disagree. Why you think that Blake Lively is lying in this complaint. Next one. JJ, please vocalize your opinion. Next. Right. The covert intimidation. Now, this is just one example in a list of examples. So it says, C, Baldoni and Mr. Heath. So it wasn't just Baldoni who was SHing her and other members of the cast. It wasn't just her. Okay. And this complaint also involves other members of the cast and puts into action protection for her and other members of the cast. Okay. Important key points here. Right. But this bit here, I want to look at in a bit more detail, because there are a load of accusations. But this one, yeah. So it's first bit. She says, Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath discussed their personal sexual experiences and previous corn addiction and tried to pressure Miss Lively to reveal details about her intimate life. Now, this is what they do. Toxic narcissists and abusers boundary push. And this is one of the ways that they do it. And they'll get close. This is why I say keep your friends close and your enemies close is the worst kind of advice ever. Okay? Because they need to be close to you in order to do the real damage. In order to do the emotional and psychological abuse that the narcissist and the abuser wants to do, they have to get close to you and get intel on you first. Okay, so this is what they're doing at this stage. It's kind of like the precursor to the real abuse, and which is pointed out later, because she obviously puts up a boundary here in which they basically start acting like she's some sort of prude, right? And then the little that they did find out from her, from the pressure, they used against her. For example, when they spoke about corn, in order to try to get them to stop talking about it, she said that she'd never seen it. And as a result of her saying that she'd never seen it, they then announced that to everybody as though it was this ridiculous thing and used it to basically publicly humiliate her. Case in point. Right? So this is why they come in with all of this boundary pushing, asking you uncomfortable questions, trying to get as much as possible so that they can use it against you, which they did. According to the complaint, allegedly. Okay, let's go with that. Right, so that point. But then there's the next point where he plays victim routine with a twist. So they're in a car. This is what it says here. I'm just going to summarize. Basically, they're in a taxi, I think it was. And was it a taxi? It doesn't matter. Point is, they're in a car, right? And Baldoni is basically talking about the fact that he was essayed by his former girlfriend, right? Apparently he spoke about this publicly in probably one of his podcasts or something, which he's now been dropped from. Amazing. Can't wait for the rest. Yeah, so he was saying how he was essayed by his former girlfriend, but then says, you know, basically that in reflection after that, reflecting back, what were his words? Let me get this right. He says, in examining his past, he then said, did I always ask for consent? No. Did I always listen when they said no? No. So basically, he sat in this car telling this woman, covertly telling her, because he's not really telling her, he's doing it from the point of view of like, I was a victim, and then when I look back on the situation in reflection, I didn't always, you know, respect someone else's no, you know, and I didn't always ask for consent. Now, I didn't always ask for consent can be perceived in a number of ways, because, you know, in intimate settings, you know, someone doesn't stop to go, ooh, can we do this now? So you can see that as him just not being, as him communicating that he wasn't, you know, actively asking for consent before the doing of the do, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because I understand how that does happen in intimate situations. People generally don't go, can we do this now? It's not a thing, right? So you could kind of brush that off and say, well, now that he's been through that experience, so say been through this experience, I'll get to that later. Now that he's been through this experience, he now thinks of it from a different lens, and now is thinking, wow, I should have stopped in the moment and been proactive in asking. Fair point. If you wanted to point that out and say, well, maybe he didn't mean it like that. Fair point. Next bit. Did I always listen when they said no? Where are we going with this, sir? Like, hang on. The first bit I would give you. The second bit. Yeah, no, we're getting into grapey waters, sexual coercion waters right here. Right? But he's saying it as though, you know, it's a reflective thing. However, if you take into account that this guy has been SHing her this whole time, this is covert intimidation. Because what you're basically saying is, do you know what? I've done that. before. I'm doing all of this with you right now, and I'm pushing all of these lines and making you feel really uncomfortable. And by the way, I have done that without consent before. Why would you do? Why are we having this conversation with our boss anyway? A. B. Why would you say that to a woman in general? Right? After your, corn disclosure, which again was not a necessary thing to say. Like, what's going on? What was happening? Right? So here, very murky waters, and they'll do that. This is called covert intimidation. They're not all, a lot of the time when they give these threats, they're not going to be like, I'm going to do this to you, and I'm going to do that to you. Sometimes the intimidation is in the implication, is in the stare, is in the implication of what he's saying right here. To the point where the message was so well received that the driver said once he dropped, I don't know if he dropped off, I can't remember, basically, he said to Blakely Lively when they were alone that he would not feel comfortable leaving her with that guy. Like, they should not be left alone together. So this is what the male driver received from the conversation that he was minding his own business and drinking his water whilst being made to listen to. Okay? Allegedly. But let's just take that. Okay, so that is a red flag for me. If that happened, red flag. Red flag. Red flag. Next one. Let's look at the actual complaint. Let's look at the actual complaint, because I said all of them. I'm not going to say all of them, or maybe all of them on this page, but most of them are signs of either emotional, psychological, sexual, and or even physical abuse. I'm going to say most of them, right? So one of those is going on in each one of the things she's asking for. This is what she says in the complaint. Basically, she says, you got to stop doing X, Y, Z. She's got 30 things that they got to stop doing. Okay, so we go through it all right here, and then so basically, first one, stop showing nudes of women to Blake and other employees. 2, stop talking about porn addiction and Blake's lack of porn watching. 3, no talking about personal times where consent, and we're talking about the car thing here, was not given as an abuser or abused. 4, no describing own genitals to Blake. Like, these things, come on now, why is this being written down? Okay, no more jokes about HR complaints or missing HR meetings. So this is what they're doing. Whenever she made a complaint that they didn't listen to in that time, right? Because she's making these complaints, she's pulling it all forward, even though she has no power to make any of this work. And it depends on the abusers to actually do what they're supposed to do in order to create change. She's still putting them forward. And as a result, she's being mocked and told, well, well, I guess I missed that HR meeting. Basically just mocking her, right? No more inquiries about Blake's weight. Now, she just gave birth to a child. And we're going to get more into this Blake weight situation in part 2, because it's important, right? She just gave birth to a child when she's still breastfeeding, guys. And this guy's asking her about her weight. He asked her, and then he also asked her trainer, and then he also sets this ridiculous thing where she's got lose a certain amount of weight in a certain amount of time. It's like, wait, no, you asked me to do this based on the weight that I was when I signed the contract. So now what? You can't just halfway through the shoot just be like, oh no, you got to do this now. No, sir. Right? Stop talking about Blake's recent deceased father, because she was saying this is spiritual stuff, because apparently he sells himself as a bun-wearing spiritual feminist, right? So this is part of his spiritualness, and the spiritual narcs are the worst, because they get right into your beliefs and then use that against you. So here, her father recently passed away, and for some reason he thinks this is going to be a topic for conversation, like it's appropriate. And saying that he talks to Blake's recently deceased father. Like they communicate spiritually. Like, what are you doing? Now, this was brushed off by the public in some way as him just being a bit of a kook, but no, this is spiritual abuse, mate. You're not being a bit of a kook. You don't just talk about someone's recently deceased dad that you've never met in your life and talk about how they're communicating with you. This is ridiculous, right? Trauma bond attempts in a really weird way, I guess. Stop eliciting Blake's religious beliefs or sharing his. Basically talking about spiritual stuff. Nobody cares. We're filming a movie. Let's get on with it. It's basically what she's saying. Next one. Must be informed of COVID exposure. So what happened on set was he basically, well, not he, but the company, well, not the company, but they were exposed during the time of working there to COVID, her and her child. But no one notified them. So this is where we're getting onto borderline physical abuse right here, because they knew that they were exposed to it, but nobody notified them. She had to figure it out for herself, like what is going on as a company? Absolutely not. As soon as like you're aware, they should have made her aware, right? But they didn't. Now, these are all ways in which to break you down emotionally, psychologically, physically, all the E's, right? So bear that in mind. An intimacy coordinator must be on set during scenes. Why isn't one on set? Like, why is this being written down? Again, are we a film company or not? Now, you might say, well, you know, they're just a bit disorganized. And that may be true, but you know what happens also in disorganized workplaces? Abuse. #, bullying, because it leaves things open for this type of thing to occur. So whilst on one hand, you might be saying that doesn't mean that they had a sexual, there was any sexual harassment, it does up the likeliness of that being the case, because there are no standard procedures in place. Do you hear what I'm saying? So why would you, it's just kind of like, why would you not set that foundation if you're actually in a space where your intentions are good? But anyway, let's keep going. Stop talking about personal experiences with sex and spouse or otherwise. So basically they're coming in and talking about sex with their wives, girlfriends. This is both of them. So bear in mind, with most of these complaints, we're talking about both Baldoni and Heath. So from her boss, and her boss, her second boss. So yeah, like I said, she's a producer in name only at this point. No more personal, physical touching or sexual comments directed at Blake Lively or female crew in general from Baldoni and Heath without consent. So she's not just talking about herself. So this whole kind of like thing where, oh my gosh, she did that complaint because she wants to clean up her. She's not even talking about herself in this complaint. And we're going to get to the end of this complaint in a minute, and we're going to see where we go with this, because there's more to this. But bear in mind, she's not just talking about herself. 13, no improvising. Intimate scenes must be choreographed and approved in advance, which you would think was obvious, right? So we're doing sexual scenes and you're just basically just doing your own thing. Like, so outside of acting, you are engaging in intimidating behavior, sexual SH behavior. And then when we actually have to do the work, she still can't avoid it because you're literally doing it on sets. Tell me where the power is in her favor here. Like, I don't, what? So to be honest, a lot of the time, okay, let me just finish this and I'll get into it. 14, must have a representative for Blake on a monitor at all times during sex scenes or violent scenes with Baldoni. So basically, she wants someone who's on Blake's side to be watching a monitor when the scenes are going on. All right. She all actors participating in intimate scenes with Blake must be actors, not friends of the director and the producer, and approved by Blake. So basically what happened was she was doing the pregnancy scene, I think it was, and he brought his friend onto the set to basically sit between her legs. And she didn't have, like, usually they have a discreet thing, you know, between the thing to kind of like, you know, so it's seen but not seen, and trying to make it as discreet and respectful as possible. That was not there. So he was literally sat between her legs, the friend of the person that was SHing her like throughout. Ridiculous. And how likely is this to be true? Well, considering the standard procedure and respects weren't in place because this is what she's asking for, it's probably pretty likely. Right? Let's go on to the next ones. So, guys, let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Give this video a thumbs up and let me know your thoughts. Okay. No more filming of nudity without a SAG compliant nudity rider in place. I don't know what that all means, but I'm thinking that basically, you know, there's someone to make sure that the nudity is appropriate and of standard and isn't a violation. And any already filmed footage without this compliant person in place cannot be used without Blake and legal team's written consent. So basically, this even puts even more credence to what I said. So basically, all the footage that they filmed before without this nudity rider in place cannot be used without her consent. So if she doesn't want it to be used, they got to refilm the whole thing anyway. So again, why didn't you just sack her if this is not true? Because ain't no way, right? Why are we going through all of this? And now you're going to tell me we can't use the content that we've already filmed? Girl, bye. Right? This is the attitude you're going to have, especially when your resources are unlimitless. This is the attitude. These are my thoughts about it. This is the way that I'm thinking about it. But guys, push against me. Let me know your thoughts. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me how I'm wrong in this situation. 18, intimacy coordinator must have wait a minute, let me start again. Intimacy coordinator must have a monitor during nudity. So they have a nudity rider, and then we have an intimacy coordinator that must have a monitor during the scenes as well to ensure that compliance is following. So she wants an advocate for her. She wants an intimacy coordinator with a monitor on her. No monitor to be viewed during closed scenes except by Blake approved essential crew. So basically what was happening before was she was doing her intimate scenes, and when they do intimate scenes, they usually close the set so that, you know, discretion and dignity and all of these things are kept in place while they're acting, right? But apparently, according to this, that wasn't happening. So the monitors were open, broadcasted basically everywhere for everyone to see, which is not standard practice, which is inappropriate, right? So now she's saying she only wants the people that are supposed to be there to look at those monitors at those times. She doesn't want people, friends of Blake and X, Y, and Z in the background getting off on what's going on. Next, no entering of Blake's trailer or makeup trailer when she is nude for any reason to Baldoni and Heath, because apparently Heath demanded that she come into his trailer when she was like topless, and they were doing some body painting on her, and she basically was like, no, don't come in because I'm just almost finished, just wait. And he was like, absolutely not, I need to be in there now. So she said, okay, come in, but don't look at me, turn around, we can have this conversation. Because what he did, she'd raised a complaint, and he said, you know, we're not going to have a meeting about this complaint unless you open up and talk to me right now. So then she said, come in then, but just don't look at me, which of course he didn't listen to, and was just looking at her the entire time, right? So that's what she's talking about there. No multi-hour meetings with Blake in her trailer without someone else present, because Baldoni did that too. Apparently he had a bit of a crying moment in there for hours, talking about something to do, and I think it was related to her weight as well. So he was basically crying because he felt like the character she was playing would not be received well because of the weight that she was, which was just basically another way of digging into her. But of course, he stayed for hours to do it and had an emotional trip, played as the victim whilst thoroughly insulting her and making her the problem. So yeah, she's saying none of that. We're going to nip that in the bud, right? No attempting to sage any of Blake's employees, so going around being spiritual guru. So on one hand, you're SHing people, you're crossing boundaries, you're going in and you're putting people down and all of that stuff. And on the other hand, you're playing monk of the year. I don't even know if monk's sage, but you get my point, right? It's just like, what's going on? Next one. 23. Alex, also a woman, to be given standard rights, inclusion, and authority in accordance with her job description. So again, she wasn't the only woman being given a title without any power behind it. So she's advocating for Alex here to say, listen, you've given her this job. You've said that it has this job description, but she's not allowed to do any of the standard things that come with this job description. She's not included in any of the things that come with the job description, and she doesn't have any authority to any of the things that come with that job description. So we need to sort that out, is what she's saying. Then she's saying Sony must have an active role in the daily activities to ensure the safety of the crew and smooth running of production. So she wants Sony protection. She's like, okay, you're a company and all of that. I get it. You own this whole thing. But what I'm going to need is someone else to step in as a third party to make sure that we're covered and we're safe, and then things run smoothly. Like when there are problems and stuff like that, we can get over them, right? I basically think that she wants that person in place so that when there are when there is any conflict, it's easier to deal with without having to basically do another legal document, right? She doesn't want to go and have to do this again. So she's like, okay, let's get somebody in place now whereby we can make sure that these are all fair things, guys. This is all just all industry standard things that she's asking for right now. Right? Number 25. And then she asked for an experienced producer to supervise the safety of the cast and crew. Now, this is a bit of a slap in the face, which it gives me another question. Why would you accept that? Because remember, they are both producers. In fact, yeah. I'm not sure whether Heath is an executive. It says executive chief officer. I'm not sure what that's in reference to. But Blake's definitely a producer, right? So this is a slap in the face to Blake. So again, if this woman's just a difficult person, reading this, if she's just a difficult person and none of this has any weight, and she's asking for things that you're already doing and you haven't violated anything, why are you going to agree to having an experienced producer oversee you? Why? This woman's a nightmare. Goodbye and good day. This is what I'm thinking you're going to be thinking. Right? That's it. Especially if you got a billionaire backing you. Absolutely not. You're going to come and tell me how to do my job when I've been doing it just fine, and you've got nothing on me. Why would he do that? Okay, let's go over to the last bit. Last bit, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. 26. Engagement of Blake approved A-list stunt double. Now, this might seem vain, but I think I know where she's going with this. And Blake only doing close-ups or work from pre-approved shot list. So she wants to approve her double and not have some random person who's not an actor or anything just come in and do some double for her right now. He seems to be, if he's SHing and he's also, putting her down and berating her in different ways and devaluing her in different ways. One of the ways that he can also do this is through, his representation of her when it's not actually her. Right. So she's trying to say, I don't want you picking my stunt doubles. I don't want you doing, I will approve what's actually going on here. Right. Number 27, no more. And also she's not going to do work that they haven't pre-approved that she do, because it seems like, again, she was told that she's going to do one thing, and then they started pushing the boat out a bit more, just pushing the boundary out a bit more. And this is what they do in the toxic workplace. This is what they do in any, they need you to be working in ambiguity in order for what they're doing to be effective. This is why this complaint is so good, because it's taken away the ambiguity. It's like, no, here are the boundaries. Let's put some boundaries down, since, no, because you can't defend yourself against mistreatment when you don't know when it's coming and there's nothing put in place to buffer that. All of these things are reasonable things that should have been put in place anyway, if you were not with the intention of violating boundaries. Right? No more adding sex scenes, oral sex scenes, or climaxes outside the scope of Blake Lively's outside the scope of the script is what I meant to say. Approved when signing the contract. So basically they signed the contract, everything was good, and then he's like, you know what? I need you to do this sex scene. I need you to do that. He's getting her to perform, let's say, oral sex. Come on now. You're getting her to do random things and filming it. You're just going to add it on? Absolutely not. Can you imagine how degrading that would be? And that's your boss and your friend and his friend, who is also your boss, just witnessing this and just, watching on their monitors. Can you imagine? Which is why it must have been quite a slap in the face when the smear campaign came about, and they were saying basically that she didn't care about, DV and all of that stuff, because clearly she does, because a woman that wasn't about the cause, who wasn't believing in the mission of that movie, would have quit with all of this going on. They would have quit. They would have been like, have a good day, sir. I'm not even going to go. I'm not even bringing legal papers to you. Have a good day. Because we're getting into sexual abuse here. This isn't just SH, but they call it SH because it's, like a workplace environment. But it's basically, it's disgusting what's been claimed to be happening here. And you might think, oh, well, they didn't do it. And we'll get to that in a minute. No more asking, pressuring Blake to cross physical picket lines. Basically, boundary pushing. No more boundary pushing. What we were employed to do a job, and the job was this. And it was all laid out in the contract that the job was this. So now I don't want to hear nothing, basically, is what she's saying. And no more retaliation or abusive behavior towards Blake for raising concerns. So she's saying, listen, I don't want any retaliation for having to put these boundaries in place, because you know what? Because that's what they do. If you manage to create boundaries to protect yourself from the exploitation, to protect yourself from the abuse, they'll retaliate in other ways. And if you know, they'll just find another way in which to retaliate against you. So this is why she's put in here, I don't want to hear it and I don't want to see it. Like, we're not doing anything else. I don't want to hear any form of retaliation because I did this. Because It was that or be essayed or quit the job and quit something that she clearly feels passionate about. Right? So, and then the 30th one was for them all to attend meeting with named people. They named the people, including requested new producer. So remember, she requested a new producer to come on and oversee things. She wants that new producer to be in the room when they have this meeting so that everybody knows what's supposed to be happening, right? She also wants her husband to be there, and she wants this meeting to happen before filming resumes to ensure that the 17 action points that she laid out in the legal document is basically implemented. So this is the complaint that she made, and then she outlined 17 action points that they had to take in order to make sure that everything she said and asked for is met. Right? So she sent that document to them, and she sent that document with this complaint and the 17 action points, and this was their response. Response number 1, Wayfair responded that Wayfarers, Sony, and production respectfully acknowledge Ms. Lively has concerns regarding safety, professionalism, and workplace culture. Although our perspectives differ in many aspects, ensuring a safe environment for all is paramount, irrespective of differing viewpoints. Regarding your outline requests, we find irrespective of the different viewpoints. Regarding your outline requests, we find most of them not only reasonable, but also essential for the benefit of all parties involved. Sounds good, right? However, this is standard gaslighting image management. Because what they're actually saying in this is, yeah, we heard you, because they have to. We have a different point of view about this. Code for it didn't go like that. It didn't go like that at all. But safe. But in order to ensure the safe environment, but a safe environment is paramount, is what I'm trying to say, right? Irrespective of the viewpoint. So now they're trying to come over like they're these reasonable people. That's the gaslighting. Because if you were these reasonable people, why did you have to get legal in order to get these standard things that should have been put in place anyway in place? Why are we here, sir? If you were you're so reasonable. That's what I mean by the gaslighting. Ensuring a safe environment for all is paramount, irrespective of our views. So I'm so high and I'm so above it that even though it didn't go like that at all, I'm just going to go with it because, I care about the safety of others. Okay, so why wasn't this in place before? And she said it wasn't the first time she brought it to you. So why did it have to get legal in order for you to do like basic standard stuff? If you're so reasonable. She even put in the thing about them mocking the HR complaints. So what are you talking about, sir? What are you talking about? Then I want to talk about the next part of their response. Part 2. So the legal document, remember, has the 7 outlined action points to ensure what Blake basically asked for is implemented. So basically the 7 action points, like I said, encapsulate everything, those 30 points, basically. What did you say? No, why did she wait 4 months to take action? She could have just dropped the movie if she felt so uncomfortable. She could have done. She could have done, but I think this came more out of she could have done. I'll put it like that. But if you really believed in the movie and felt like this was something that should be done, and the only reason why it wasn't being done is because you were being sexually SH'd, it's a sticky one, because you know you might have some principles around that. Why do you think she waited so long? Okay, maybe she didn't want to. Well, remember, everything was fine after this meeting, which is what I'm going to get to. So she didn't actually wait that long, because the rest of the filming was fine because standards were in place, right? Then they started doing the smear campaign, and she was just like, okay, right, I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna. I heard he was doing a camera. We're getting to that. We're getting to that in a minute. Right. So here, right here, why did they sign a document to action points related to things they say never happened? One. We got two signatures here. One from Heath, one from Blake. Why are you signing that if it didn't happen? You got 30 accusations there. And I don't know whether we read the one about I want to go back, because there was another one here. Where was it? About the lively person. Oh, where is it? Posing as lively. There's one where they talk about, she talks about, where did it go? It's not what? Basically, there's another complaint here. Here it is. Any scenes done by Blake or any other actor depicting Lily. And guess who she's talking about? She's talking about the younger Lily here. Where nudity and sex are involved must be done in strict accordance with nudity rider, and they adhere to the Blake Lively approved script. So she's not only just talking about her as the character, she's talking about the younger character, which they were clearly also overstepping the lines with. So this isn't just a case of SH against her. I can see how this could easily turn into a principal situation. So yeah, she might leave, but then they're just going to carry on with this behavior with whoever else that they film with. Right? So she removes herself from the situation, and the game just goes on. So maybe she just didn't want the game to go on like that. And she was just like, no, I'm going to put my foot down. We are all going to be protected in this. And no, absolutely not. You're not going to get away with this, which I don't blame her for. Yeah, they have power. Yeah, they say what goes, but I'm going to use whatever power I have to make sure that these people and myself are safe, and then we can get this job done. This is the way that I see it. This is the way that I would see it if I was in that position thinking about it. But anyway, guys, give this video a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. So why did they sign it if none of these things were happening? And why weren't these standard practices in place to begin with? It's another power imbalance move. Oh, accident, that none of these standard practices that protect the dignity and the standards and the respect of our cast is in place. So we can just do what we will with that. And obviously the younger members of the cast aren't used to the industry. So they're just like, oh, I guess I just have to do this thing. And oh, I guess I got to, right? So there's older Blake like, not today, Satan. I'm going to need you to pack that all the way up. Yeah, we're going to need you to do that. Right? And if you think about it, they have the cheek to do that with someone like Blake, who does have some authority in the industry, who does have some experience. Think of what they're doing to the others. It's only because of the power that she does have outside of the power she had in that situation that she was able to make any changes at all. Sorry, changes at all. But she got both of them to sign here. And it says here, in the event of any conflict between the terms and conditions of the agreement and the terms and conditions of this side letter agreement, the terms of the condition and the conditions of this side letter agreement shall control. Meaning, I don't want to hear any of your foolishness about what the agreement was before or after this. This is a new agreement, and this is what we're going with. Sign it, or I'm not coming back. Which, if she was such a difficult person, making up all these lies, should have been like a Hail Mary, hallelujah, goodbye. We ain't signing nothing because we didn't do anything, and you're literally off your head. Right? This is the attitude that you would have if somebody comes to you with these 30 allegations that that have nothing to do with you. Why does Blake Lively claim there were 30 actions? Well, the document reflects only 17. Like I said, it encompasses, I read it, it does actually encompass the whole thing. Everything she said is those 30 complaints, the action points, the 17 action points are within that. I just didn't want to read the 30 points of the complaint and then read the additional action points which cover the same points. So, but the document is in the community. The link for the full document is free for you to download if you want to read it yourself and actually read, I think it's, and actually read the 17 action points for yourself to confirm that they reflect. It's in the community section. Check it out, and I will put it in this video as well for you to check it out for yourself, because I understand with a video like this, you're not going to get all the bits and pieces. I want you to look at it as it is. I'm never going to be able to cover it all, but as it is. So that's the same thing I thought. It's like, hang on, if there are 30 accusations, why are there only 17 points? But then when I read it, I was like, oh yeah, it's all in here. It's all in here. That's why. So they signed it. And then they went on to the meeting that they said that in the agreement that they must have before filming resumes. And she included, this is another red flag, her including her husband in the meeting is another red flag for me, because it indicates to me that even though she had the legal document in place, she was still intimidated to go in there on her own. She felt intimidated, she felt outnumbered, and she wanted someone who she knew would be on her side. So and also who is also a man, because we've got how many men in the room? If you look at the document, we've got Heath in the room, we've got Baldoni in the room, we've got Alex, who has no power, right? Who she is actually fighting for her to have power in this situation in the room. And she's got to have a meeting with these people. And then she's got to have a meeting with this new producer to make sure that the new producer is aware of the history and isn't gaslit into believing that she's a problem. This is why she wanted him in the meeting. Because if he wasn't in the meeting, he's going to come back with a whole new version of what happened. So she wants everybody there together to understand why the meeting's taking place, the actions that are supposed to be put in place, and X, Y, and Z. And she wants her husband there to let them know that a man is in the room and this is my woman. And did you say you did what now? You better pack that in type situation. This is why she brought her husband into the room. A lot of people, I think I heard somebody on another platform saying how, she brought her husband in to intimidate them. Yeah, but in a personal way. Because now they've got to be in a room while she's talking about these accusations and look her husband in the face and say, yeah, I've been doing this to your wife. It puts a different spin on things. When the husband is looking at him like, you thought you did what now? You better pack that in. Right? So that is why she could, because at the end of the day, they've got no weight in regards to business and money. Baldoni holds all the cards, which is why he thought he could do that in the first place. But in regards to man, she brought him in the room. Yeah, this is my husband, and he knows everything. And he's on my side, and you ain't going to be able to gaslight this man. Because you seem to be here violating all the women. Let me bring in a man that's on my side that you ain't going to be able to gaslight and bring onto your side. That's why she brought her husband, along with the legal documents. I understand it very well. And even in this meeting, there's no denial from Baldoni or Heath about doing these things. So whilst they touched on it not being the way that she perceived it, nonsense, in their original complaint, there's no direct denial of, hang on a minute, we never said that, no, we didn't do that. They just went with the first response. They gave a general, this isn't the way it is, but they didn't pick it to pieces in the meeting. Why? Why didn't you do that? You know, why didn't you say, hey, Ryan, it wasn't like that. You know, what happened was, no, they didn't try any of that because they were talking to another man in this space. And they'd already agreed as well to the terms. They'd already agreed to it. Again, why would you agree to something from this nightmare person who is I don't want to say barely A-list because that's disrespectful, but you know what I mean. Like, it's not like she's Glenn Close or, you know, I don't know, somebody of real, like, heavyweight person within the industry. You know what I mean? You just swap her out. This is if they're innocent, they just swap her out. However, if what she's saying is true, they couldn't fire her because the legal that they would get, the legal backlash they would get off the back of firing her when she is actually in the right, they knew it. They knew they couldn't do that, which is why they went along with that, is my point. It further validates to me that they actually did do those things, because why didn't you just sack her if you didn't? Because if you didn't, they don't have a case and you can just fire her for harassment. Because you're just doing too much, girl. You are doing far too much. I don't know what you need to do in order to get yourself together, but you need to do it somewhere else because we got a movie to film and we haven't got time for your foolishness. This is the kind of time that they would be on if they didn't do what they did. It's logical. And that thing, again, their response where they're just like, of course, we would do these things. This is what narcs and abusers do all the time. They pretend like they're these reasonable people when they're in a position, after you've done all the things and gone through all the trauma, when they're finally in a position where they're caught out, they're going to turn around and go, you know, of course, no problem. All you had to do was ask, type thing. Ridiculous. But yeah, that's red flag number 6. Red flag number 7 for me was after the meeting, it's tumbleweeds. Again, if Blake Lively, if I'm going to take this all the way through, you're telling me this woman is a mean girl, she's an itch, she's a that, she's just difficult to work with, she's all of these things, this, that, and the third. She had all of these problems in the first month and a half of filming, and then after the legal meeting where boundaries that quite rightly should have been there in the first place were put in place, she didn't have any more problems. She didn't have anything else to complain about. Does that not seem strange to you? This is not fitting with a person who just makes up stuff. Why don't you have some other stuff to make up? Surely we should be moving on to the next problem. But no, what happens after the meeting is literally nothing. They film the movie, they get on with their lives. Everybody is protected. There's no more complaints. Funny that. Don't you think? Red flag number 7 for me, because why? Why isn't there a complaint? In this whole time that you were filming, okay, there were a couple of strikes in here, but they started in mid 2023 and finished early 2024. And of course, there were a couple of strikes, but like I said, only a month and a half of that was their conflict because of the lack of boundaries. After that point, all filming was smooth. After she asked for external people to be brought in to mediate, everything ran smoothly. Why are you bringing in for people to mediate if you're the abuser? If you're the difficult one? Why are you even doing that? Guys, I need you to make this make sense, because it doesn't make sense to me. If I go with the story that they're giving me, it does not make sense. Next. The red flag number 8 is Baldoni's countersuit. Listen to this. So apparently, this sounds like more of his PR BS, but we're going to get into this on Friday. Let's listen to this video. This is just a small kind of like summary of the countersuit that I just heard about today, quite frankly. So I wanted to include it here. Have a listen to what he's now saying.
It's about to be a bloodbath. Get ready, it's about to be a bloodbath because Justin Baldoni's attorney just told Deadline they're planning to file a countersuit against Blake Lively. As we know, Blake Lively has filed a legal complaint against Justin Baldoni, which people are assuming is going to preface a forthcoming lawsuit. Now Justin Baldoni is clapping back. And in Baldoni's counter lawsuit, they plan to prove that it was actually Blake Lively's PR team that was putting a smear campaign out against Justin Baldoni. That the text messages that Blake revealed in her complaint were taken out of context, which was intended to alter their meaning. That Blake's publicist was actually planting stories about Justin Baldoni. And that this whole thing is orchestrated to rehab Blake Lively's image after the public turned on her while promoting It Ends With Us.
Okay. Let's say that's correct. Where is the bit about the SA factor? They're going hard on the smear campaign and being like, oh, no, she did these things. No, she did it to me. Darvo deflection and all of that stuff. Standard stuff. The abuser's going to do this. No, I'm the victim. I'm the victim. She, which kind of mirrors a lot. I'm not going to get into it, but he said he was essayed by a woman, but then talks about how he basically essayed women. So the likelihood of you being the victim of a woman essaying you are slim to none at this point, but okay. Right, so here we have it again. This guy saying how, no, I was the one being smeared. I was the one being smeared. No, I'm the one being smeared. No, but I'm going to get into that on Friday. The point that I want to make here is, where's the bit about him saying that the complaint, the SH aspect of the complaint was false? Now, they got very good reason to go into why the smear campaign was not a smear campaign. They've got to do that. I mean, he's going to get a lot of backing to reverse that situation, because the magic doesn't work as well when the audience knows the tricks. Right, so they need to bury that in there somewhere and make that false and just shimmy all over that and neutralize it. So it's like, oh, this is what PR people do. I'm going to get into that on Friday. They have to do that. Great. But there's a whole sexual harassment factor to this complaint. Did you hear him say anything about that? Let's listen to it again. Tell me if you heard it, because I didn't hear it.
Get ready, it's about to be a bloodbath because Justin Baldoni's attorney just told Deadline they're planning to file a countersuit against Blake Lively. As we know, Blake Lively has filed a legal complaint against Justin Baldoni, which people are assuming is going to preface a forthcoming lawsuit. Now Justin Baldoni is clapping back. And in Baldoni's counter lawsuit, they plan to prove that it was actually Blake Lively's PR team that was putting a smear campaign out against Justin Baldoni. That the text message.
Okay, so you're going to prove that there was a smear campaign against him, which, has anything heard outside of this complaint? Has anybody heard anything bad about Baldoni? Because if it was a smear campaign against him, then her campaign people did a very bad job. Like, apart from this complaint. Okay, next.
Messages that Blake revealed in her complaint were
so the text messages that Blake revealed in her complaint in reference to the smear campaign was taken out of context, which if you read the complaint, again, it's in the community section and it will be underneath this video soon, clearly cannot be taken out of context. The thing was subpoenaed. It's not taken out of context, but okay, love, okay. We'll keep going with that.
Taken out of context, which was intended to alter their meaning. That Blake's publicist was actually planting stories about Justin Baldoni.
Again, related to the smear campaign.
And that this whole thing is orchestrated to rehab Blake Lively's image after the public turned on her while promoting It Ends With Us.
So again, we got no denial of the sexual harassment charges allegations of 30. In fact, not only do we have no public denial, we have a signed agreement to stop doing that stuff. So you want me to believe that even though this person is a exploitative POS, you want me to believe that there was no retaliation? Because now I believe that she actually was SH'd because you literally admitted it in the legal document and agreed to stop doing it. So you can't stop doing something you were never doing. All right. So if you put that into consideration, then he came out and did all of this, that, and the third about, you know, feminism. And he's got this whole career based on feminist views and protecting women. Yet you did that. Not only to her, but other members of the cast, including underage girls. Because I think the woman who played Lily the first time was underage, I think. Maybe not. Don't quote me on that, but I think so. But anyway, she was younger, right? So including that, and now you want us to believe that even though that happened and she made it so that you couldn't do that anymore, you just went on with your life and you did not retaliate in any way, even though it's a classic way of retaliation for a narcissist and abuser is like part and parcel of the whole abuse. Like, you're going to get retaliation. You're going to get some retaliation. Okay? Especially if you won. You won the fight, you're not going to win the war according to them. You're going to get it. Right? So you want me to believe, knowing all of that you actually were completely innocent and she did a smear campaign against you. Guys, I need to point out that the truth is not a smear campaign. These people love to mix and blend things. If she's telling the truth, her speaking about it publicly is not a smear campaign. That's just the truth. Okay? And I believe she's telling the truth. I'm Team Blake right now. I believe she's telling the truth because what is going on? Their excuse or their reasoning for having her there at all makes no sense to me. Outside of, you couldn't sack her because it was true. Outside of that, why was she even there? Why is she still the co-star? You don't even like her. You literally don't even like her. So what's going on? All right, so that's it. In conclusion, I 110% believe Blake. Guys, give this video a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts about what I'm saying in the comment section. If you want to read the complaint for yourself, all 80 pages or however long it is in the community section. And I'm going to put it under here in the video as soon as I finish this live so that you can download it. It's free. There's nothing for you to sign into. There's no details for you to collect. It's absolutely free because I want everybody to be able to read it and know for themselves what has been said. Because what I've noticed within influencers and such like, them doing little remixes of what actually happened and what was said in order for it to lean one way or other, and this, that, and the third. So that is why I find it really important for us all to know what she said in the beginning. And like I said, my thing, I read between the lines and around the lines and look at the whole situation, and looking at it from that point of view, what they're saying to me doesn't make sense to me. And if I'm honest, I feel like based on what they said about the smear campaign and how it runs, I feel like they've created this thing here, this narrative, basically. I feel that's basically it. I feel like they created this narrative here, and it's BS in order to further protect his image and make out like it doesn't even make sense. It doesn't make sense anymore. Why would she do that? Why would she go to the trouble of doing that? Okay, to protect her image. We're going to get into that on Friday because it still doesn't make sense. It's like she was this terrible person. Why was she there? I can't. They had all the power in the situation. The only way in which they didn't have power in that situation was because they actually did it. Because that's the thing this is why I always say the target actually holds the power after the offense has been done. The target holds the power, but they don't know that they hold the power because they are filled a lot of the time with so much shame, with so much, like low opinion of themselves, and they've taken on board what the abuser has said about them. But the minute someone does something to you, you now hold the power. And that is the only reason why she wasn't sacked. Because they knew that they would have all hell to pay to try to explain to anyone why she's not working on that thing when they have witnesses. And this is why they don't want to go anywhere near the SA bit, because they know there are multiple witnesses, because these people were so cocky that they were doing it in front of everybody. They don't even want to go anywhere near that. They're hoping that if they can make this smear campaign bit big enough and have you believe that she was underneath all of this, that you are just going to disregard the SH thing completely. This is what they're going for, guys. Because they don't want to go anywhere near the sexual harassment because they can't defend it. Hence why he doesn't even mention it in this countersuit. Well, it's only a little clip, but it's not even mentioned. So mark my words, they're going to blow this up. They're going to make her the problem. They're going to make her the instigator of the smear campaign. They're going to do a whole Darvo, deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. They're going to do a whole Darvo on the situation to keep the heat on Blake and to stop people from talking about the allegations at all, even though there's overwhelming evidence for it, to the point where they, including their own signature. Guys, that's what I want to say about that. Give this video a thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you disagree, that's fine. Just tell me why. Tell me why you disagree based on what has been discussed here. Tell me why you disagree. And remember, let's stay on target. Let's stay on topic. The plantation, bad. You know, I'm gonna get into more deeply on Friday into the smear campaign, because that is so deep, guys, which is why I didn't throw it in with this one, because I'm like, I'm not going to do a good enough job of breaking it down for you if I try to make it put them together. It's so deep, it's ridiculous. But yeah, that's it from me. Let me know your thoughts about what I've said here. Give this video a thumbs up and subscribe and hit that bell so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. By the way, guys, before I go, the merch is here. This is all part of the merch, which will be released on January 1st. I am very, very excited. All of the bits and pieces are the merch for my company, the Livermore Academy. It's here to support the company. It's here to support the women in general. We have quotes for women in general to keep us uplifted and spreading a positive message, an empowering message for all women, as well as helping survivors of DV, SA, and sex trafficking, okay? Because profit from that, a percentage of the profit from that is donated, will be donated at the end of the year to a charity that supports victims of DV. So it's all connected, guys. We're uplifting each other. We're supporting each other. We're also supporting victims as well. No, I'm not even calling them victims, survivors. Let's stop with the victim thing. Survivors of these things. So I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you found it helpful. The merch is out. God, there's so much to say. So many things have changed. My app is out. So you know that I have the Livermore Academy has its own program for helping women to get out of abusive situations, recover from the trauma of the situations, and reset so that you're not vulnerable to further toxic and abusive dynamics and all of that stuff. And now we have our app. So you can do all of this from the comfort of your mobile phone. I am so excited. Links to that will be available. I didn't have time to put it in here now, but I will put it in here. It's in the community tab section. You can go check it out. Our stuff is currently in the, I want to say Christmas sales. January sales start soon after, so it's all connected. So you get a healthy discount off the programs and off the merch when it first comes out. So keep your eye open. This is the hat. This is the hoodie. We have t-shirts. We have a lot. And that's it from me. Until next time, live boldly, live empowered, live from the inside out. Bye for now.